God bless golf. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 8. We are happy to be back. To my left, you will see my partner, Richard Stapleton, and we are pretty excited about this week's show for a lot of reasons. One being our first guest ever on this show, and a longtime friend of mine, Tim Tucker, will be joining us soon. For those that would assume if you're listening to the show, you know who Tim Tucker is, but a little bio on Tim. Longtime PGA Tour caddy, best known for his run, alongside Bryson DeChambeau. Truthfully, during one of the most fascinating stretches in all of golf. Timmy looped for Bryson from 2016 to 2021, taking a slight detour caddying for me and Mark Dole in the US 4-Ball 2017, was basically a boots-on-the-ground translator for one of the most polarizing players in the game. Together, they racked up 8 PGA Tour victories, including a pretty much runaway US Open in 2020. Known for managing Bryson's analytic-driven the way of playing golf, coupled with Tim's knowledge, played a key role in just about everything they did, but most importantly, distance control and green reading, where, in my opinion, Tim separates himself from just about anybody on the planet. You've heard us talk about what he's meant to us, certainly his influence on me. I'm lucky to call him a friend for almost 20 years. He worked for my dad at Bandon Dunes. He worked for me at Streamsong, and just wherever he goes, he seems to do well. After he left Bryson, he was with Kurt Kitayama, who also won Bay Hill. So Tim's one of the few caddies to win Bay Hill with 2 different players off the course. Obviously, Timmy's built himself quite the reputation, more than just being a caddy. He owns a high-end transportation company in Bandon Dunes called Loop Golf. He was one of the first guys that ever was doing the aim point thing. He actually taught me aim point in 2008. I'm sure we'll get in that in one of these episodes. And just a respected voice on the mental and strategic side of elite golf. Sorry, I'm really bad at reading stuff, but I wanted to make sure we gave Timmy his flowers before we get him on. He's widely regarded as one of the most experienced and insightful caddies in the game, and I've told everybody having a guy like Tim on your bag is like having Tom Brady as your quarterback. We're happy to bring him to the show, and so without further ado, let me click on this button. Is it going to work? We'd like to welcome...
There he is, our man, Timmy Tuck.
Timmy Tucker in the house. There he is, my boy. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Thanks. What's up?
How we doing, my man?
What's up, fellas? Long time no see.
I know, man. It's
Absolutely. So glad to see you, bro.
good to see you and good to talk to you. I know we had a chance to chat a little bit yesterday, Timmy, and we spared you having to listen to us brag about how wonderful you are. So you'll have to listen to the podcast to hear our little intro to you. But we've mentioned a few things that you've done in your life, starting from, at least when I met you, from the Bandon days to aim point to obviously all the success you've had with guys like Bryson and Kurt and many others along the way. So we're just excited to have you on the show. And truthfully, we're gonna talk about all kinds of things, and just really excited to have you as a part of this show going forward, whether it's every week, every other week, who knows. But Timmy's going to be here because, as I've mentioned before, I think I know a lot about golf. I realize I don't know nearly as much as I think when I talk to guys like Tim Tucker, who has seen it at the highest possible level. So, Timmy, give us a little update on what's been going on recently. And before we get into like what we're going to do for the show, just tell us a little bit about what you've been doing the last, let's say, 6 to 12 months.
Last 6 to 12 months. Well, I quit working for Kurt after John Deere, and I had an opportunity to work with Bryson again, with the thoughts that I might, fill in a little bit over this season, and that may happen. Not sure exactly what's going on. And I kind of been fielding offers from players. There's a really big opportunity that may happen for me. I can't talk about it yet, but, just relaxing. I've been skiing, playing some golf, trying to get my golf game back together. I fell out of love with golf because I've, caddying for 10 years, living someone else's life, just kind of ruined it for me. But, can't play the way I used to play or what so, perception of how you play and what's reality is really hard. That's
often hard to grasp sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's
So we all
every
go
player
through that,
in the
right?
world.
I'd love to get back into it because I love the game. I really do. And I remember how much I used to love it. So I'm trying to get back there.
Yeah, that's so funny that you say that, because I think of the times, the short period of times where I really got to know you well when I first moved to Bandon with my daughters in 2012. And just, I can think of some of the funnest days I've ever had in my life was playing Bandon Crossings with guys like yourself and Matt Torrey and Crawford and all those guys. where that's where the love of the game really comes from, because
Absolutely.
you're just doing it because it's fun and you're with your boys and it's competitive, and you never know what kind of who's going to show up that day in your five ball or four ball. So I know we had a lot of good times out there. Do you play a lot? I know you're up in Amarillo. It's a little chilly this time of year, but when you do play, are you playing locally, or are you going to see friends around the country and try to get out in some warm weather?
I really haven't been playing. Like, I've been doing a lot of hunting, but tell
Yes.
people all the time, they're like, "Hey, why'd you lose interest in golf so much?" And it was because, I think we were at the best place to play golf because we had 100 scratch golfers. A lot of caddies are degenerates, like I know I am. Love to drink and gamble and have fun.
What?
Then
Who does it?
my whole life, I always dreamed of joining a country club, and the problem was when you join a country club, there's not that many cool guys there, dude. So
Nope.
it's really difficult to find a good group of guys. I just found a guy here. It's funny. He's a orthopedic surgeon, and he is one of the best. And he's a total degenerate, man. Drink, gamble, loves scratch golfer, loves it.
Yeah,
So
I know a couple surgeons like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
usually car dealers
The
too.
list is long but distinguished.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's great. I mean, that's the point of having fun in the game too, right? I mean, we say it all the time because if not for seeking the opportunity and the different angles of golf, especially when you work in it, for as long as you have, you're not gonna have a lot of fun with it because it's what you do every day. Seeking those like-minded men and sometimes women in the group is certainly important to having fun because I feel the same way. It's like I'm not gonna go join a country club where I can't go have an opportunity to maybe play with 10 to 12 guys on a different weekend or a couple weekends in a row where it's the vibes are high and everybody's talking about the bets they lost most likely or won, and that's what golf's all being. Playing golf for us is all about. I mean, obviously the competitive side is one thing, but I think Martin Keimer said it best after the US Open. He won. He's like, yeah, I like shooting 80 with my boys way more than I like shooting 65 on Sunday. He's like, that's just a fact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and go ahead, Timmy.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say, no, I love that, man, and I'm really missing that in my life, and I'm hoping to get that back. So
Yeah, I think too, Timmy, is like a lot of people that, like a lot of us, we see these superstars, we see these golfers and we see these caddies and like, oh man, it would be so cool to pick the guy's caddy. And it's kind of like if you love pizza, right? Like I love pizza, but if I worked in a pizza restaurant 7 days a week,
Right.
when I come home, I'm not making pizza, so I can see it. And I remember being a caddy at band, and there were just days where like, dude, the last thing I want to see is a golf course. Like I'm going anywhere other than to see golf. And at the level that Tim is doing it, where it's just not show up and it's a 5 hour day. I mean, especially with Bryson, it was 20-hour days, but even with Kurt, because Tim does things a certain way, those are full days. He's there to work hard. I've seen it in person, and all those guys do, not just Tim, but I can see where like the last thing you would want to do is play golf, and it would make you almost hate golf. Like think about guys that have been professional, and then like, myself, I turned pro, and man, it went bad, and the last thing I wanted to see for 4 or 5 years was a golf club. And the fact that I've regained that joy and love for golf last 10, 12 years has been great. So I know how much you love the game, Timmy. Has that been, now that you're not working as much on a bag as much, do you find yourself trying to like it more, or just trying to say, hey, I think I really do love this game and I really am excited about getting back into it?
yeah, no, I do love the game. I need to be patient with it because when I was playing my best golf, which wasn't that great. It was low
Tim's
end
really
amateur,
good. Don't let him
scratch
fool you.
amateur
I was
golf.
going to say I can remember meeting Tim for the first time and him going straight to the U.S. Mid-Am at Birmingham Country Club. So let's pump the brakes here.
Well, I did shoot 90 there. So.
I didn't want to bring that part up, but I knew you would. So
There
you
is
got
a
to
big
qualify.
there's such a big difference in golf. Like, when you think you're a good golfer and then you go to, the next level, like a mid-am, which, that's what guys want to do. For, that jump is massive. And then you go from there to like an amateur and that jump is massive. And then you go from there to a tour event and it's huge. So, I mean,
Yeah.
these levels, you think, when you start thinking you're really good at golf, you're not.
You're wrong.
It is a
Absolutely.
humbling game, but man, it is so fun to try and be good. But,
Yes.
getting back to what you were saying, I'm trying to, you know, I'm really excited to go play golf, and then I've, chunk a chip or something like that, ready to leave the course. I'm like looking for my car. So that's a tough one. If I can get over that, I'm going to be good. So
Sorry, I'm making a lot of noise here. That's too funny. It's so true, though, right? Like you just
It
are
is.
so. That's just like you're just on the range, just striping it, and you get the first hole. It's got like a slight dog leg left, and it's just a shrimp in the trees. And even though you probably get a breakfast ball, you're like, where did that come from? I haven't hit one of those
Right.
in 40 minutes.
Bro,
Right.
I was at a turn. This guy asked me to play up in this thing in South Dakota, every year, and so I go up, and he has actual pros there, but he makes me a pro, which he shouldn't. But anyway, I do. People, I tell stories, whatever. But I remember I was hitting it so good on the range, and I was just like, man, this is weird. I can't even miss a shot. And then as soon as I started thinking about it, I could not hit another ball in the range, man. And I was a mess. I hit it all over the planet. It's like I was hitting it so good, I talked myself into hitting it bad. Like,
Right.
it's nuts.
Is there another? I mean, I say it all the time. Imagine like waking up one morning and forgetting how to walk. That's how quickly golf can leave, and it makes no sense because there's
Could
really
go
no
faster
other
than that.
sport. There's really no other sport or action that you do in your life where that it can leave that quickly. So that's funny that you say that, man, because that's so relatable to pretty much
Oh, dude,
anybody
and the
listening.
tour pros struggle with it too every day, man. It's like they're trying to find that one thing, and the reality is it really doesn't come down to that. I'm that it's hard for me to speak at their level, but this is what I'm seeing. These guys, they need that confidence. They need that one
Yep.
little thing, man. They're as psycho as you and me are, right? Every single
I
day
know.
they're losing their golf swing, thinking they're losing their golf swing, and these guys are, Bryson would shoot a 68 and just be livid, like, okay, we got a 4-hour range session coming after this 4 under 68, and
Right.
but
To try to get one shot better.
just to try and find that one feeling so you can
The
go
one
out
thing he
tomorrow and play.
did. Yeah,
So
so speak to that a little bit too, because I obviously these guys are, and I tell people this all the time, just your novice golfer about alignment and stuff. And these tour pros are they're resetting their eyes every single day, right? They were getting their number. I remember you used to tell me that you would meet Bryson at 9 in the morning to go over the numbers for the day, and how drastically they changed. Now, obviously, these are guys at the highest level. Most golfers aren't going to bend their clubs every single day, but like when you talk about the psychoticness of these golfers, and obviously Bryson is well known for being just out there as far as how good he wants to be. But all these guys, even if they're not outwardly, they're all searching, like you said, for that one thing. And it's almost like they're so afraid they're going to lose it, they have to show up the next day and almost like restart the process. Is that true? Is that an accurate kind of perception of what we see?
it is, and I think Rory talked about it a little bit, or a lot actually. Winning the final leg of the Grand Slam, he was talking. I was on the range so much, I've kind of forgot how to play golf. And
Right.
one of his best friends, Shane Lowry, if you look at Shane, now I don't know Shane very well, just friendly, hey, what's up? But I don't think he sees a physio every day. I don't think he works out every day. I know he drinks, and then you look at a guy like Bryson, physio, working out, doing no drinking, doing everything to excel. But what Shane does is play a ton of golf. And, that's what this game is about. I tell Kurt, he would spend hours on the range hitting his driver. And I'm like, look, the number one player in the world hits 9 fairways a round. You telling me if I give you one more fairway per round that you're going to win 6 times this year? And the answer is no, it's not that one fairway, but that's where they get so lost in
the data.
There's so much more to the game, and there's so much low hanging fruit. And that's kind of where I help Bryson and Kurt, going, hey, let's understand how far the ball's going every second of the day. Let's understand what's happening when the ground's wet. Let's understand how to hit this shot out of the rough, judging our lies, having experience with that, and then applying that information to this shot on, Thursday, second hole, instead of playing safe out of the rough, we're still attacking because we have good ideas of what's happening with this stuff. That's really how you get better. And it only takes, if you look at a guy, I asked a kid this the other day, hey, how many rounds you play last year? He said 100. I go, okay, what are you to par, do you think? And he said, I'm probably pretty close to even par. And I said, okay, so, if we just get one shot better a day, now you're 100 under, right? And a lot of that comes from our decision making. And we're not doing that. We're thinking it's coming from some motion up here.
Right.
Here.
Right. Sitting there
and it's
hitting.
not.
Well, that's a question too, Tim. And we talked about that I think actually you and I talked about that yesterday when we were chatting on the phone, but I know Richie and I a couple weeks ago were talking about when I was down in Tampa playing in the Gasparilla, and obviously it's not the same, but you're playing a golf course that's super windy with greens really small, and you might be dialed in your simulator or on the range, but the first hole, you have 115 yards with the ball below your feet and the wind's blowing hard right to left. You can't, now you got to hit a golf shot, and it doesn't matter how many times you worked on your swing, and obviously with the short amount of time that I do have when I do want to go play, I would rather go play 5 or 6 holes and let's find out, am I practicing my short game today? Am I working on iron shots out of the rough, where I can actually see that immediate feedback? And I know that, well, you're talking about low-hanging fruit. There's all these guys that have all these ideas. We can do this, we can do that. Do you ever find that sometimes what you're telling these guys are so simple that they just don't want to believe it because they want to think it's something else they have to put 4 hours in, versus you just saying, like, you don't need to hit ball. You don't need to go lift weights for 4 hours. You just need to know what a ball does when it's fully plugged, or what a flyer looks like.
So, dude, this is a great story. We were at Wells Fargo last year, and the PGA Championship. I don't know if that was last year or before, whatever. Anyway, we're on the range, and we just played in the Wednesday Pro-Am, and we played 9 holes. It wasn't a problem. Just played 9 holes, whatever. We're going to the range. We're finishing up, just warming down, right? And Kurt, I'm sitting there talking to Matt. And, Matt's been a friend of Daniel and Kurt for a long time. So anyway, he's sitting there with us, and we're just watching Kurt kind of chatting on the side, and Kurt's striping it. But I can see his body language is negative. And I'm like, he played great in the 9 holes. We're ready to leave the course, man. It gets ready to go compete, the next day. Anyway, I can see his body language. He's getting really upset. And I'm like, what's wrong, dude? He's like, dude, I'm over fading the ball. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I go, where's your target? He goes, I'm aimed at the flag. And I goes, I'm aimed just barely left of the flag, and it's fading like 10 yards. And I'm like, well, look at that huge American flag, man. There's a 10-mile crosswind, bro. And he's like, what? I'm like, aim more, just a little more left. Okay, hits it, comes right down on the flag. He's like, I didn't think about the wind.
Right.
And Matt, we were driving home, back to his place, and he's like, Timmy, I am shocked that a guy of this caliber player was so focused on trying to hit it perfect that he took out the outside, and started really screwing up his golf swing.
Yeah, especially in a game where all we do is deal with outside factors, right? I've learned everything I know from caddying from this guy right in front of me, But lie recognition's the number one thing, and you kind of touched on it early. And then what's it going to do in the air, and how far is it going today, right? And when I was coaching the kids up in Montana, I used to tell them the same thing, dude. It's a daily game. Like, what is going on today that's going to affect you? And then how are you going to affect the golf ball and make that outcome as positive as possible? Because if you don't factor in all those little things, including if your girlfriend's mad at you or whatever, then it all makes a difference, right? And that adds up, and especially at that level.
Yeah, well, man. I would imagine. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I love that. And, I caddy for Tony Finau. They called me and asked me to do a week for him, and I did. And, Tony he would really benefit from, some technology.
Right.
And, everybody says, hey, I'm a field player. And I'm like, well, all golfers are field players, but I think information enhances that feel. But anyway, Tony's approach, he'd hit it, off the tee, he'd hit it left into the trees or something. Right. And walking up, off the tee, he'd say, man, I think there's going to be an opening there. And I think I'm going to be able to get that, up around the green or on the green. And every single time he hit it in the trees, that's what he was talking to me about, and I thought that was really refreshing. He was trying to fix the puzzle, dude. He wasn't trying to like, hey, how does this engine run? Tell me exactly. You give me the key, put gas in it, and I'm going to drive over here. Right. He was problem solving from the moment he walked off the tee, not going, I'm over there behind this tree.
Right.
He would be able to do something. He was so positive. And I love that he was playing golf in his mind, not going, why am I hitting it left all the time? And that's why he's so good with a little bit of technology that he does use. And I felt like if he used more technology, he'd have won 2 or 3 majors by now.
No. Yeah. When you say use technology, are you talking about he doesn't TrackMan anything, or you're saying just like his clubs?
No, he uses TrackMan, but it's like, he kind of uses it just as a, if you ask Tony how far he hits a 7-iron, he'll say
baseline.
He'll say around 180, and I'm like, but that could be 167 to 185,
Right.
That's a massive gap. Yeah. A good example, we were in Austin playing in the match play, and we teed off at 8:00 in the morning, our first match. He was hitting his 6-iron when we teed off, 194. When we finished the round at 2:00, he was hitting at 211. That's a 17-yard difference, okay? In temperature, density, altitude, wet conditions would make the ball spin up. So all these things affect it. We're talking a 17-yard gapping. Well, all you have to do is fly over one pin over the back of the green and make a double, and you're mentally
You're
at
done.
rest.
You're
So
never gonna
Cooked,
hit
yep.
it. You're
that's
never
the
gonna
kind of
hit a
stuff
pin
I'm
high
talking
again.
about, you know? And
Yep.
and I didn't know about this either, right? And it kind of created it with Bryson. We were looking at his stats when he was a rookie, and we're like, if you'd hit it 1 yard closer to the pin with every club, you would be number one in every iron play category.
1
It's
yard.
like, how are we going to get
Dang.
this? How are we going to
Yeah.
get 3 feet, right? Well, it's not from his golf swing. We're going to get it from better decision making, you know, and that
Sure.
started all this process, which turned out to be, you know, really great information.
So and let's go back to that first. I was going to tell a story about the time you were, I don't know why you were in Ocala, but Dole and I were playing a tournament. Do you remember that? And you came and like,
Yeah.
you were like raking bunkers for me a month after Bryson wins the US Open.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
we were all having dinner, and you asked somebody a question, and he answered. And this was a mid-amateur, good dude, but I mean, obviously not an elite player. And he said, "Oh, I'm a field player." And Timmy's like, "That means you have no idea." And you're right, because who wouldn't say that? Oh, when it's cold, I'm a field player. I hit my 7-iron 160. In reality, you're like, no, you hit it 153. You're not even close to 160. But regarding the density altitude, when you start talking about it, something that I live by. I've tell everybody I know at any chance I can. Some people don't believe me. I have people that are on other podcasts. They'll be on some Twitter debate and they'll text me and they'll be like, "What is it again?" And I tell them, who and when did that happen with you and Bryson? When did y'all grasp that? Or was that you, or was that him? Or tell me a little bit about that whole story of where that came from.
We were at Travelers, and this is his rookie year, and his coach, you know, just had been looking at his stats and had mentioned that the night before. And so, you know, I was in the military. I was on a rifle team, and you know, we used density altitude for, you know, long range shooting. Well, you know, ballistics, right? And I'm like, well, these are balls and they're flying through the air. Maybe this will apply. And a long time ago, I read something. I was going to visit my sister in Fort Myers, and they had a Titleist ball testing center there. And I thought it was going to be this really cool thing, and it wasn't. It was just this shack with a thing launching balls, right? But measuring them. Anyway, what I found out was, you know,
A ballistic missile hut for golf balls.
Yeah, I read this so long ago. This is probably 25 years ago. And I read that, hey, for every temperature change, you know, above or below your normal temperature, you gain or lose a foot of distance just for every degree of temperature. So I was like, okay, well, let's start there. Okay. And then we started looking at altitude and understanding that, you know, hey, we play in Florida at 1,000 feet, right? We can go from Honda to Bay Hill, and then the Players Championship 3 weeks in a row, all played at 89 feet or whatever it is, right above sea level. But the density altitude can change, right? It can be density altitude is barometric pressure, temperature, altitude combined, right? So it's usually around 1,000 feet when we're in Florida. But also turf conditions change that. So if the grass is different in all three locations, that affects spin rates, right? And then you add water and things like that. So I just started collecting this data because Bryson never hits a shot without, you know,
needing
a
to
GC
know
bar
everything.
and and a flight scope, right? We always had both of those with us, even when we went on the golf course. And then we started reverse engineering all this stuff, and voila, right? We got all this great data, and it helped make us.
Yeah.
Bryson was the best at, you know, he always said, this is so crazy the guy, most talented golfer I've ever seen in my life, right? I've never seen someone hit iron shots as well as this guy. And then he became one of the best drivers in the world. And then putter as well. He's an amazing putter. But he always said, I never felt like I was talented enough, as talented as these other kids. So that's why I started using my brain to become better and applying physics to golf. Well, when I started coming up with this stuff, he was all about it. And he would try anything, man. We'd put golf balls in hot tubs. We'd put golf balls in freezers, you know, at the places we were staying, and run out and test them, you know. And he was always great about it. Now, if it didn't work, he'd be like, "You're a fucking idiot." But if it did work, he'd be like, "Okay, let's implement it." And then he would make it even better because he's so, you know, going down the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
Which was
Yeah.
great. And then his precision ball striking, you know, you knew you were getting good data because, you know, when he'd go test with these companies, they'd say, dude, you're almost as accurate as Iron Byron, which is insane.
And I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to ask that question real quick, because I mean, I remember you telling me this. You're like, I've never, and I witnessed it on watching you guys one day in a practice round. He hit a 4-iron. Basically, he wanted to hit it 180 feet in the air just to tell you he could, and then he did it, or would just pick balls off sand. Have you? Obviously, clearly, he's the most accomplished guy you've ever seen. But have you ever? I mean, but you've seen them all. You've played with Tiger. I mean, just name the guys. Have you ever seen anybody hit it like him in your groups? I mean, are you ever like, yeah, this guy hits it better than him, or is it not even close?
The only time I'll never forget, we were playing 2016 Oakmont, and we were paired with Jason Day. We were 5th teeing off that last day on Sunday, and we ended up 15th. But Jay Day was putting on a clinic, and
That was the year he went nuts, right?
Dustin Johnson ended up winning, but he was hitting the driver perfectly. He holed out. He chipped in on 12 for eagle, and I told Bryson, I said, we're playing with the U.S. Open champion. Unfortunately, he doubled 17. He drove it up by the green, went back and forth over the bunkers, and ended up losing. But that was the only time I'd ever seen anybody out ball strike Bryson DeChambeau. And dude, the guy, it's shocking. He could hit his 7-iron or his 4-iron 270 yards and hit it like we hit our, gap wedge.
Yeah, like we hit a sand wedge from 100.
Perfection. It was a joke. Right. I mean, people always ask me, are you nervous? And I'm like, no, man, because I know, I felt confident in the numbers we were doing because all the data we were collecting. And I'm like, if we can get this guy in the right club, he's going to stripe it. I mean, it is so fun to watch. Now,
it's amazing you say that, because I don't think.
What's that?
Sorry. I don't think.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Richie.
It's amazing you say that, because when you're in the moment and you're calling the shot for somebody else, and we kind of talk about this with a little bit before, but when you have that much information and it's right, then you don't get nervous giving the info to the guys, and at least in my experience and the little that I have out there. But that's something I learned from you, is just be so confident, because you haven't missed an angle or an element, that whatever you're going to give them becomes down to an execution, and the allowance for the variance for a proper shot is going to be an acceptable outcome if you got the data right. And so
yeah,
I eat that stuff up when I hear you talk about it. It's so cool.
You're
to be able to affect your
right,
game by a yard.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you're exactly right, man. And from a player standpoint too, Chip, you guys know this. It's like if I'm walking it down for you, right, and we're covering every single element, like we've done the research, we've worked the math problem. Now it's like, dude, okay, execute. I am fully confident in this club. When you're doubting the club, it's very difficult to hit great shots. And I think that was a big part of when he was when we're coming down the stretch, winning the tournament. That's where that stuff is the most important, because it's a checklist. Boom, 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 hit. Right? There's no time for negativity or being scared, because we're just working the problem. Right?
Right.
Yeah, you're talking about.
It was just a great thing that we did. Somehow we stumbled upon it, and it really worked well for him.
Are you shocked that not I know we've talked about this before in the past, and it's funny you mentioned Matt Torrey and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago when we were chatting about, like, if I was you just need to tell them the number and where to hit it. Like, sometimes, yes, there is a checklist, but you see it sometimes on the golf course, the interaction between the caddy and the player, and neither one wants to kind of take that this is what it is, where it's like these guys, kind of like you mentioned them hitting in the wind. I mean, they're so focused on what they're trying to do. Sometimes, yes, you've done all the work, and it's like it's 143, hit it at that thing, versus let's re-talk about the math that you and Bryson were doing on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And it's kind of like the old story when John Wooden, the famous coach for UCLA basketball, he'd come in the locker room pregame. He says, boys, I've done my job. Now go do yours. And he would just sit on the bench and watch them win all the time. And I've always said this about you guys when you were with Bryson, or really anybody you were with, the kind of stuff you guys do pre-Thursday. Do you ever feel like you're almost like 8 under before you've even teed off, just because you know that you're doing stuff that really none of these guys do? And are you shocked that more guys, and maybe they are, because obviously I don't know how many people are reaching out, but the more players aren't trying to jump on this bandwagon, as if they're afraid if they have too much information that they're not going to play well? And it's like, are they that just fragile-minded about everything, or they just don't want to accept any of the new stuff? Like, what's been your take? 'Cause I'm sure people reach out to you all the time.
Yeah, dude.
And ask.
Yeah, when people were, when when they played the BMW Championship in Colorado, right? At Castle Pines, I got like 7 calls that week going, "Hey man, how do we do this?"
Yeah,
And I'm like,
altitude, air density, wind,
yeah,
humidity. It's
yeah,
40 in
exactly.
the morning. It's 70 at night.
You know, they sent me this chart that I think I forget whose caddy it was. Because they had like I said, a bunch of guys call me and they sent me this chart they made up, and I'm like, "Where'd you get this shit?" It makes no fucking sense. Like if you just look at the increments in the math, it doesn't like guys, not that
They're
complicated.
guessing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
totally guessing, right? But they're based off numbers like air density in Colorado, or excuse me, in where is it? Castle Pines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Denver in the summer, it's
The
probably
the
12,000 feet.
altitude can change from morning from like 5,000 feet to 10,000 feet.
Right.
We're talking another 10% change in distance. I mean, that could be
Yeah.
15 yards. If they got their numbers in the afternoon and they're playing it the next morning and it's wet, they're not even close. Anyway, I got
Right.
it over the green and he's just like, it's like, dude, you got to know this stuff, right? The density altitude, I'm shocked that guys don't know it. I had Patrick Cantlay was hitting balls next to us one day and he's like, "Hey, dude, are you seeing some weird spin numbers right now?" Because it was raining, right? It was in the afternoon, but it was misty. And I'm like, "No, we're not." I'm like, "Why? What are you seeing?" He goes, "Well, my lob wedge is spinning like 8,500." I'm like, "Yeah, that's normal." He's like, "No, I spin it at 12." I'm like, "I know, but it's wet right now." He's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like,
Friction.
and he and his coach are his caddy, and I'm like, "Guys, man, I mean, this is, and Patrick's a great player. And I mean,
Yes. Great.
if he, like, think how much better he'd be if he were one shot better. He probably wouldn't lose very much, right? And by the way, I love Patrick Cantlay. A lot of people don't like him. Yeah, he's fucking great. He
I
is.
mean, he's been through a heck of a ride and a heck of a road, but to be able to
He just
come
has a
back and
face
keep
kind of
playing.
like mine that doesn't smile, and he says people just judge me before they even talk to me, and I'm like, and he didn't give a either. That's the best part too.
No, absolutely. That's great. I mean,
I,
yeah,
I,
forget that.
I think I texted you a random text about 2 years ago, and I said, if Rory and Patrick Cantlay were wrestling, who would you take? You said you'd take Rory. So is Cantlay just too not thick enough for you, or what?
I mean, Rory's
Because
pretty
Rory's
intense.
strong, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Roy's got that weight room strength.
and he's determined as too. But great, nice. Like we played with him recently. I don't know what he had won. He had won something the week before we played in the team tournament. He played with Shane Lowry at in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what's before that, but I think he had
The
won
Zurichs, the Masters, maybe.
boy, I don't know because I no, because you go to
I
Hilton
can't remember.
after Augusta.
It doesn't-
Anyway,
yeah,
he
what?
won the event the week before, and he was still intense, and he put on a show with his putter. Holy hell, he is so good. I mean, they're all good, but
Right.
there's definitely a difference between the top 20 and the top 50 and the top 100. I
Yeah.
mean,
Let me ask you this, Timmy. We got Houston coming up this week. Is that really truly the Masters prep they make it out to be? Are guys getting ready on that golf course like they're talking about?
man, where's that golf tournament? It's at MacArthur Park, I think.
Yeah,
It's in
I
Houston.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Now I've never played it. We've played there 2 of the last 3 years, and it is immaculate for a public golf course, dude. It is phenomenal. And I don't know, the greens are great. I don't know if it's a great Masters prep like it used to be.
Right.
Everything around the green is closely mown. It's forgiving off the tee, which Augusta, there's half the holes are, half the holes aren't. Augusta's, that is a unique test of golf. I think a lot of players have said that if the Masters weren't there, they probably wouldn't play there because the course, I'm not going to say tricked up, but it's really, 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 really difficult. Like if you had to play it every day, you'd probably wouldn't like it because it can kick your ass. I mean,
Yeah.
I
It's
dreamed
like
whole life there, and I played with Bryson and a member and his agent, and I was short of the green. I think I hit a 4-iron in because I played the back tee with Bryson. Those guys hit like 9-irons in, but my ball hit the front and roll
Difference in the member tee.
of the green, and the pin was really almost middle of the green, like the easiest pin you could get. And I chipped it up, and it broke. It went right up to the pin, about 3 feet from the pin, and then rolled right back down to my feet. And I made a double. And I was just like, I just chipped the ball 3 feet to the pin, and I made double. And I was like,
Thanks, Bobby.
dreamed of playing this course my whole life, and I was ready to walk to the parking lot again.
Just kind of like we talked about earlier in the show. Had one of those moments.
And even at the second tee, and he's like, fuck this play.
Get me out of here.
But dude, I will say we played there, and it was a struggle with Bryson because he gets so in his head, he wants to win that tournament so bad. It was never enjoyable. And then when I played with Kurt, because Kurt is the greatest guy on the planet. He's always smiling. He's the nicest guy, and he's a hell of a competitor. And we had played the windy year. I think this was 2 years ago, maybe 3. Anyway, excuse me. We were even par after 2 days, made the cut, and we're kind of like maybe a month, going into the weekend. And Kurt shoots 82 on Saturday, and I mean striped it, and shot 82. And I was like, yeah, he was really dejected, and we were probably in 54th place at this point. And I'm like, hey, Tiger shot 82 today. You tied him if you can say you tied Tiger at Augusta, you did pretty good. But we went out on Sunday, and we're out of the tournament, no big deal. But I mean, it was so windy. The greens were insane. I'd never seen them so hard and fast and firm. And Kurt shot 66, I think. And it was like you had to hit the ball. You had to be so precise. We made the best decisions. Kurt striped it. We walked off. If you look behind me, there's a picture of us out in front of Augusta after we cut the line to take a picture. We were so happy about our round. And it was it was my happiest experience at Augusta ever. And we finished 30th. So, but that course is I wished everybody had the opportunity to walk it. If you haven't, you need to go. My goal was to go watch it on Monday and drink 1 beer per hole. And I think that's the Augusta challenge. But
yes,
that would be a fun day.
That's it. Yeah, it's quite the walk. I can't even imagine, because you've caddied in how many Masters? Do you know offhand? It's like 6 or 7?
7.
Oh God.
Yeah. So what's it like when the first time you go caddy on a Monday in the practice round, you're thinking, man, I got to walk this thing 6 more days. I mean, it wears your legs out if you're in good shape. You're carrying a bag, not only a bag, you're carrying the heaviest bag in the history of the PGA Tour. Is that accurate to say? Bryson's bag has never been a bag.
No question. Yeah, he's got all kinds of gadgets. His clubs are longer.
His grips are like an elephant trunk. What is? And I know the three of us here, we've all caddied. I tell stories. There's mornings I'd be abandoned and I couldn't even feel my toes, but the minute my feet hit the grass, your legs just work. And obviously, when you're out there working and grinding, it's a long day, but. I mean, are there ever times where you're like, man, please don't hit it left on this hole, because if I have to walk down here with all your clubs and then bring it back up to the green?
I have the perfect story, dude. We were playing with Adam Scott, and Stevie Williams was caddying for Adam Scott. And by the way, Stevie is obviously the most winning caddy in golf history by a mile. Yeah. He's caddied for every number 1 player for 25 years. And you're going to think he's going to be this arrogant dick. And he wasn't. He is the coolest guy, right? And he is always walking ahead of everybody by 50 yards. He's like he's running an Ironman, dude. He is just motivated to get up there. And we're on 18. It's humid. And the only time it's really bad when it's bad at Augusta is when it's humid. If it's, a nice day, the walk's no big deal. But we're wearing the big jumpsuit. And anyway, it's hot as hell, humid as fuck. And Adam Scott has not missed a shot all day. He's playing great. We're down there sweating my balls off, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make the 18th hole. I am dying. And like I say, Adam Scott has not missed a drive. He hits it, he fans it into the trees on the right. And I was walking up, and I was with Kurt, and I was like, I'm so happy he hit it in the fucking trees. Now we're going to have to stop and wait for him to hit up, because he'd only hit it 200 yards off the tee. Then he hit it into another tree, and he made a double. And I was so happy because I got to rest the whole way, and I made it up. So anyway, we get back to the caddy yard, and I'm like, Stevie, because he's sprinting out there. I was like, dude, how'd you do it? He goes, bro, I had to drink an electrolyte packet on the 18th tee just to get the fuck up the hill. I was like, dude, you look fresh as a daisy. He had ripped his suit off. He was so pissed he had to wear it. It was so funny, but it made me feel better because I was being such a puss. But it was.
I can't imagine being down there on 16T down in the valley down there, just on a humid day where it happens to be ultra hot, bro.
Or
is that nothing?
Think how far you think I'm at the bottom and I've got to go all the way there, but I got to go fucking zigzag all the way up there. Remember Old Mac? Dude. I would stand on Old Mac on the 5th hole, the 5th tee, and I'd be like, Jesus Christ, in about 3 hours, I'm going to be over here 50 yards to the left of me on 16.
There's nothing worse than being out there on a hot day at Old Mac, no wind or something. And you're like, oh my God, I got to cross the wall.
To walk from here to there 50 yards, I've got to walk all over this shit.
Yeah.
Caddying's terrible.
That's so funny.
That just goes to show you, no matter where you caddy in the world, when it's hot, humid, there's no
Oh,
way
man.
nobody wants to
It's
be out
like
there.
the right side of 3 abandoned trails on a warm day. It's not only you're sweating, but there's like a million mosquitoes, and there's nothing you can do to get out of there. God, that is
Bro, I'll
so
tell you,
funny.
I've been so hot in a tournament. I'm just like, and we're in the lead, right? And I'm like, or one back, and I'm like, look, dude, just either win this tournament or lose it. I don't know if I can make it another playoff hole.
What
You know?
I can remember, and I was going to ask you this too. I think it was the year. It was after you had. It had to be 2018. When was Oakmont? 2018.
2016.
Yeah. So you had gone. I think you had done Bryson at Congressional, and he like birdied the last 4 to make the cut. And then you went straight into Oak. I can't remember exactly what the combo, but I remember you had a tournament where it was so hot on a brutal course, and you're thinking, nobody wants the weekend off. But I mean, you had done pretty well, and I think you were like, this course is so hard and so hot, and then he makes the cut, and you're going like 4 days at Congressional, followed by like 4 days at Oakmont. What of all the times that what are like the worst? What's like the worst back-to-back combo as a looper out there as far as golf course? Is it because obviously, and we'll ask a few questions about the Masters, like prep and how different it is nowadays compared to even 10 years ago, and how guys prepared, what tournaments they play. But like, I know you've spent you were over in Dubai and Saudi Arabia, on back-to-back weeks. But like, are there some middle of the year tour events where it's like 2 weeks in a row on just beast courses that you're going to run out of baby powder and Vaseline because there's nothing you can do? There's just nothing you can do.
I think one year we did, well, the FedEx Cup finals were Memphis, which is the hottest place on the planet. Then we went to Chicago and played Medina, hot as hell. And then we went and finished at East Lake, hot as hell, and hilly as can be. Memphis, well, when I caddied for Tony, he was like, it was at Memphis. 2 years ago at Memphis, it was so hot, like, I think the heat index was 110, and like it was terrible. Like they were giving IVs. We had a couple caddies pass out. Players like Kirk was putting ice in his hat. He was getting dizzy, And then when I went back and caddied for Tony this year or last year, he was like, "This place gave me PTSD, man." And it was beautiful that the year I caddied for Tony there. It was, but man, when you get in the humid places, it's like, why aren't we playing in Oregon and Washington in August?
Right.
That would be nice,
Yeah, some Northwest golf.
But I tell you, East Lake is hard, man. Because if no one's
that's
ever
hard
been
for a
East
fan,
Lake,
by the way.
up, down, up, down, all the whole front side, and then the back 9. You're up, down, up, across, down, up, down, up, down. I mean, it's just like, and it's so hot and humid. And those are big hills at East Lake. Now, East Lake is a beautiful golf course. It'd probably be a little better to play if it were flatter. It is a grind.
Yeah, and that's so true too, because it's not always how many steps you're taking, is where are those steps? Because if you have 40 straight steps of soft sand uphill, that's like 400 steps just on normal grass. I mean, I remember obviously all our times at Bannon, wherever the soft sand was, certain spots you're just like, damn, I hate this part of the walk, or you're trying to avoid it any way you can. And it's funny how those steps add up. And not only that, you're going through that kind of physical, but you're also dealing with, a fragile individual who's trying to win a golf tournament and bring all that in. And the last thing he wants to hear from his caddy is how tired you are. So it's not like you're sharing any of that information with your player. But hey, let's get into a little bit, Timmy, before, and obviously and believe me, we're going to have, Timmy's going to be on a lot, and we could literally, this could be a 7-hour episode if we wanted it to be, and it will be over time. But a couple things that are happening right now in the game of golf, Tim, I don't know how much time you spend watching golf tournaments. Obviously, you have a lot of friends that are still out there. Obviously, you have a lot of friends that are still looping out there. So I'm sure you're paying attention to it. But, this past week at Innisbrook, which is, I know, of course, very well, how hard it is. I think you even said it's the hardest tour event they play outside of a major. What did you make of, or did you hear about any of the slow play stuff with Matt Fitzpatrick? And then maybe give me a little story or something, if you've ever spent time with Matt Fitzpatrick. Seems like a good dude, obviously a hell of a player, but did you hear any about the slow play? And is that just something as...
I did watch it, and the reason I watched it, David Lipsky, he's a really good friend of Kurt's, and he's never won, and he's an amazing guy. And I was like attuned. I haven't not watched the tournament in a while, but I tuned in for that because I really wanted David to win that tournament. And then when I forget who it was it a rookie kid or who was the slow
I
player?
think it's the Frenchman. He's got 3 names or something.
Sounds like something I order at a French restaurant.
Yeah.
Quedis
He
croissant or something. I don't
kept them hearing them talk about it like we couldn't feel it, like we couldn't see it, right? They weren't showing him, but they were talking about it. And I was telling my wife, I'm like, man, I can see how frustrated he's getting. He needs to reel it in and deal with it, right? And I think one of the announcers or Kisner said, he needs to stay in his bubble, right? And I really thought David was going to win the tournament because of that. And which would have been a tragedy, right? I mean, it's tough, right? But again, that's one of those things, man, you got to deal with, right? But he was able to overcome it, which was great. Usually Bryson has always been blamed as the slow player.
Right.
And I don't know how warranted that is because he hits it further than everybody by 50 yards, right? And he was arguably one of the best drivers in the game, when he was bulked up and hitting it so far. But I mean, so we couldn't walk up to our ball. We could, but we'd have to walk off 30 yards into the rough because everybody's, we're in
50
front of
yards,
everybody. So
yeah.
we couldn't even do anything. So then when it's our turn to hit, we had to go get our yardage. We couldn't get it like everybody else because usually all 3 guys are the same distance and they're not all in a line. So you can get your numbers and stuff. So, and what he'd say was, hey, I'm fastest tee to green. And then I take a little more time around the green. I don't think slow play is a big issue on tour. I will say, we used to go to crossings, play a 5-ball in 4 hours and easily we get it
100%.
on tour and we are hauling ass to play in under 4. And I can't explain why, because I feel like we are hauling ass. I hate twosomes. Threesomes are nice because you can just go. But the reality is, and I got to get, the USGA, we've all played in qualifiers and you've all been to that point. Hey, if you're not at the checkpoint, in 8 minutes, you're going to be dinged too. And then you run all the way there and then you stand and wait on the next tee.
Yeah.
Even in the finals.
I don't think there's been a U.S. Open played in the last 20 years that's been under 5.5 hour rounds and close to 6. And, you start to set the courses up hard. That's really what slows play down. And like you said,
Yeah.
I told you Innisbrook is a very difficult course. You've played it.
Yeah.
The rough's up. You're trying to win a tournament. This guy's, just trying to finish and make money. And, when the courses get hard, play gets slow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's
good point.
a combination. I'm not saying it. Yeah. It's everybody's responsibility to play fast. And it's also the tours to be on the right guy, like saying, hey, Matt, we recognize this guy's playing slow. You play your pace. We'll get on him, but usually slow play is not that big of an issue on tour.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know there's some people that like to make a big deal about it, and they were making a really big deal on Sunday about this. They asked Matt about it, and I thought he took the high road with his answer. I mean, he was like, "Look, dude, like, if I start worrying about a slow player, then what does that do to my game?" And to your point about the USGA, I mean, we could have a whole podcast about this, but I can remember, and it was actually you and Maddie were caddying for me and Dole at Pinehurst, and it was that second round, and we were going to make match play. Mark and I were pretty good, and the guys we were with were kind of struggling, and they kept pushing us, and your pace, and then we get done. And I'm like, we teed off 5 hours and 30 minutes ago. How do you tell us we have some sort of pace? And then what's the new pace? 5.5. And then when does it become 6? And to me, that always driven me crazy about USGA stuff. And like you said, I get why you say it because you got to have players move along. But what Tim's basically saying is the people on maybe the outside noise, the media, the TV, they make more of a big deal about it because it's not like players and caddies are just sitting around and being like, "Oh, you're slow," right? Because everybody, you're playing for millions of bucks. You're going to take your time. And like Tim said, the course is hard and the greens are lightning fast.
Yeah. And a player can hit it, the fast player can be playing fast and then hit it off the planet. And then, and they're in a situation where it's just very difficult. They need a ruling and then the shot's tough and it's take more time. Right. And I think I saw someone this week, like, I think it was in Cantley's group on the 7th hole at the Players last. I mean, I think there was a time that took someone didn't hit a shot for 7 minutes, I was like, Jesus, it's just situational, it's going to happen. But, I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Look, man, what's the difference between a 4-hour round and a 4:30?
No,
right.
It's a minute and 20 seconds per hole.
Yeah, and for TV purposes too. Like the only guys that are getting any kind of footage are in the lead or have there might be a slow guy that's 3 over on the back 9 that nobody cares about. and they're bringing it up. So it's kind of like what do they call it? Like victim of the moment, or like, right now it's in the moment, so we're going to talk about it, and I think it goes away. And if you're saying that it's not really bothering anybody altogether, then something we're not gonna harp on. Also, currently, go ahead, Richie.
Excuse me, and that just brings us kind of right into our award winner for this week for Toddler Zone, and it goes to the guy in your group who constantly thinks he needs to overthink it and be slow. Gentlemen, do not be that guy. I really wanted to give it to Adrian Dumont de Chachachachatar or what, but let's be honest. Timmy saved him from his Toddler Zone sticker this week. However, Toddler Zone award winners are all you idiots out there thinking that you can't play good and play fast at the same time. Two gentlemen in front of me who can do that very well, and as we mentioned, oddballs can play in 3 hours. So
yeah, I mean, you
do not be that guy.
You can play fast, and I've always laughed at the courses that are like, oh, we have a no five-some policy, and I'm thinking, me and 4 of my buddies can play faster than the Havenkamp duo. Like, we all know how to play. Like, when it's time to play. Now, obviously, if you're out there playing for $1 million, I mean, it's a little different vibe. But at the end of the day, you can play bad fast. And there's nothing better than the guy that doesn't think he's slow. That's the ultimate when you're like Jason Humphrey, like he doesn't think he's a slow player. Him and Joe Lovell. Oh, we didn't wait on a group all day. Well, yeah, because everybody was waiting on
why
you.
Why don't you pair Humphreys with Amos and see how
God.
Watch timestamps still.
Slow, and they're like, "What are you talking about? We didn't wait on." Yeah. One more thing too. Currently, Bryson, another win in South Africa. Now, I know, Tim, you've done some live before. Did you watch any of it? Is any of that golf for you something you would like to watch? I know you did caddy in a few live events, but regardless of how exciting it may or may not be, it looked like South Africa was a time. So it looks like that particular event looked like a great time. And I'm not one of those guys. I know all these guys out there on the live tour are really good, and I know how good Bryson is. So what does that tell you when you see, whether you watched it or not, you can let me know, but when he's winning at the clip he's winning, what do you think that does for him going into all the majors this year?
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I don't, with his, what was it, 2 years ago that he finished second, first, miscut, right? I mean, if you think about this in a person's career, if you had a 10-year career, Bryson will have a 20-year career. Okay. He's going to play in 80 majors, right? I don't know if he'll ever be able to do second, first, miscut again, ever. Well, that may have been the highlight. Would it surprise me if he won Augusta? No. Or any major. I mean, he can win any tournament.
Right.
But
clearly,
that I
you
feel
think
like
it's in his head
level on the PGA Tour is a lot higher. Look at the math, right?
Just better.
And you're playing 144 man field versus a 50 man field, right? Just your odds of winning are 30% better, right? I think. I don't know the math, but no, the live tournaments are fun. It's like, I would probably say that one was probably like the Waste Management, which is a great tournament. I don't know if I would want to do, 22 Waste Managements a year.
Right.
But I like it. I do like that one. And I don't mind it when they, because almost every course now is building up one big stadium hole,
right.
Where they let people get a little rowdy and stuff like that, which I think is really fun, especially as a viewer. And I don't think there's a better setup in golf. If you said, hey, Tim, you can only go to one tournament and you've never been to one, which one would you go to? I'd say go to the Ponte Vedra and watch the Players. That course is the best golf course on the planet when we play it, or when they play it. Energy around 16 and 17 is the best in golf.
So true. So great.
And I love golf. I was really disappointed that I wasn't caddying this year at the Players. It is the greatest golf course, and it's not that it's hard. It's not hard. Like impossible. Okay, like a U.S. Open.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's very scoreable. You can get it. Right. I think there was a 62 or 61 or 63 this year, whatever.
63 for sure.
There was a 29.
It's totally gettable. Like, I don't care. There's like 3 hard holes on the golf course, 4 being very difficult, even though it's short.
Shout out to Penny. He called that out a couple weeks ago. Number 4,
14, very difficult.
14 is really hard. And that
18.
green is and 18 is very, yeah.
So,
18 is so good.
I mean, those holes, 7 used to be a hard hole, but man, the way the guys are hitting it now, they're hitting gap wedges and wedges in it.
Some guys were hitting 3-wood off the tee when it was downwind. But yeah, you're right. 7, 6, in my opinion, is a harder hole just because of how weird that green is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
you got to kick a field goal there because you get just a little out of position. You got palm trees in your way. But yeah, that golf course, man, I love that place. That should be a major. I'm just saying. But anyway,
split opinions here. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, you can call it. I don't think they need to add a 5th major. It's a major, however you want to turn it. It's funny you say that though, because you know Matt Schuth from Lab Golf. He was in town and he had never been to the Players, and so obviously being that kind of my hometown background, I said, hey, my brother-in-law's got an office around the corner. We'll park there. We'll walk over, and he had never been there, and we were cruising around, and I said the fervor. You can be on the 18th tee, which is you're behind all the tents and the bleachers and everything, and it sounds like, when you drive by a lake of like birds and there's just that fervor, you can hear it. And then you walk on that cart path, you walk behind the 17th green, you're watching everybody play 16 and then everybody hit on 16, and it just has that buzz. And I was telling Matt, I said Friday afternoons, in my opinion, at the Players Championship, if the weather's good, I'll put up with any golf tournament anywhere in the world, and it's a natural amphitheater. Obviously, that golf course was built for this tournament, and they knock it out of the park all the time. I don't think you have to call it a major. I agree with you that it should be considered as how great of a player you have to be to win, and usually the list of guys that win that. But without a doubt, there's no course year after year that can answer that. And it's funny you hear that, because I was going to ask you, is there one golf course you miss caddying at? And clearly the Players, is
no
that
doubt.
the one?
We finished? So Bryson had won Bay Hill. Then we drive up the road. We're in the lead. We played with Lee Westwood in the final round at Arnold Palmer, and then went there. We played with him again in the final group. And Bryson topped his 5-wood into the water on 4, made double, and then we were still in it.
Like a pure top?
Wait a minute, wasn't that one of the best doubles in the history of golf though? Where I think if I recall, wasn't the shot tracker was he was in places that I didn't even know existed on that.
Bro, there's a little beer stand off the back right of 4.
Yeah.
Unless no one really walks back.
Chicken fingers there on Sunday.
They're in the pine straw trying to hit this shot down to the low bin, impossible, right? Keep it out of the water, but try not to chunk it. Chunks it, and then hits it to 6 feet and makes it. It's
that's right.
Okay,
that's right. I will have to pull up that shot track. Oh my God, that's so
but
good.
That was a tournament. There's tournaments we finished 3rd. I think I made $65,000 for the week. And I was really disappointed. I wanted to win that. Arguably that tournament to me, we blew a U.S. Open. I was more disappointed on that than the U.S. Open we blew at Torrey Pines.
Yeah.
And dude, let me tell you what, Torrey Pines, Bryson, I don't know if people know this. We had a shot. We were tied for the lead with 10 holes to play. And the reason we lost that tournament, because we made one bad decision. I always give Bryson, we break our putts down and he hits it. He had this 52-foot putt. It was up a 2%. It was and then it went up a 10%, and then it went up a 3% to the hole. And we're okay, we need to hit this 82 feet. Well,
so real quick, you're adding 30 feet or you're adding 20 feet to a 62 or 30 to a 52?
I'm just throwing out numbers.
Right.
I don't know exactly what
roughly,
it was.
You're adding 30 or so feet.
Instead of breaking this putt into 3 pieces and giving him, we just averaged the slopes out, and he blew it by 10 feet and missed it. And then he slipped on the next hole, made double.
Yeah.
Dude, for a guy that doesn't drink, he hit his ball into a Michelob Ultra 12-pack box behind the green on 13. This motherfucker was so mad. Not only because he's about to make a double, but his ball's in it. He hates alcohol. His ball's in Michelob Ultra cardboard fucking box. Live it.
So he's angry and he's like, why is this Michelob Ultra here? Too bad it didn't land in a thing of protein powder or something. That
right.
Fired him up.
Creatine.
Exactly. Yeah, and he had a little if he could hit it out of a fucking creatine little puff thing and just play it like a bunker shot, it probably made par. But
oh man, that was so good.
I'm telling you, one decision made us lose that tournament. Even though we had made 100 good ones to put us in position. But anyway, I was back to the Players. I I would have taken that. I'd rather have a Players than 2 U.S. Opens. I know that sounds.
There it is.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think.
Bryson had won all the good ones. Like he's won.
Like how many more U.S. Opens does he need to win? It's time to either win another major or add the Players. Like I get it. Like
exactly.
You don't need to do what Tiger did and just win 7 of all of them just to make sure everybody knows. But hey,
everybody's happy.
Great stuff, Timmy, and I can't thank everybody that's listening and subscribing to this enough. And Tim Tucker is going to be a big part of this show, and obviously how we both feel about him. And not only are you an amazing caddy, but we've been good friends for a long time, and we go way back. And so it's good that this would be a great opportunity for us to reconnect and really try to share everything. I mean, the show's called God Bless Golf because we all love the game, and obviously there's other avenues to go listen to whatever you want to hear, hot takes or hate about this or that, or get real dialed information. Hey, there's places to go for that. What we're going to do is we're promoting this game, and there's so many avenues of this game that we are just on the cusp of covering. And I think it's information like what Tim has been saying that, not everybody has time to hit balls 4 days a week. And, we'll get into golf instruction. We can do that for another show. But like, there's a lot of just basic stuff that every golfer can do that has nothing to do with practice. Because if you're a guy that can't break 80 and I can get you to break 80, does it matter what you're swinging like? Do you care what it looks like? Probably not. So this is just all going to be part of it as we go. But before we go, rapid fire is a fun section of our show or segment of our show that we're due. So Timmy, as a first timer on here, we are going to throw you 5 quick questions, and can't wait to hear your answers. Number 1, of all the guys you've ever caddied for, who is the hardest golfer to read greens for?
Not very rapid fire. Any amateur that I'm playing with.
Yeah. It's a great
I
answer.
got abandoned once on Pacific, the 7th hole. I told him, hit this cup out, and he missed it. He goes, it didn't break. And I'm like, it took you 7 shots to get here, and now you're an expert golfer?
Yeah. Mic drop. And we lost the pin. Oh, goodness. You back? Standard operating procedure, at least once or so. We have some kind of technical difficulty here from our experience.
That's all right, Spice. How you been, bud?
Oh, doing all right. Just having a good time watching him fumble with his microphone over here.
Are you
play a little golf?
There we go.
We're
back.
There he goes.
That was a good one. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen inside the ropes?
Craziest thing I've ever seen inside the... Can't answer that. Nothing, man. I mean, I'm so focused on what Bryson's done. 0 time. Like he always says, you don't give a about anybody out here but me. And I'm like, you're exactly right. I'm totally focused on 100% of what you're doing.
And that's the craziest thing I've ever heard on a golf course. Absolutely.
Now, is he telling you that, or he's recognizing that?
No, he says that.
Okay. Like just in case you
weren't.
weren't.
Who do you want me focusing on? You.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
You're never like, Bryson, did you see that shot Tiger just hit? I'm just kidding. All right. Most overrated thing in golf right now.
Putting instruction.
Tell me, we were talking about this yesterday, and you're going to tell it better than I am. Tell me the story you were talking about. If you gave something about a golf ball, a putter, and a jail cell. I want to hear this analogy because this is fantastic.
Yeah, so I always say putting is the easiest part of golf. Like think about how far a club travels in a 360-degree circle, right? And versus a putter, is like normal putting stroke is about 2 feet from front to back, right? Okay, most of them, unless it's real long. But anyway, I'd asked Phil Kenyon. I'd said, hey, if I locked your wife in a prison cell and gave her a golf ball with a line on it and a putter, okay? And I said, the only way she can come out is if she can roll the ball end over end, like roll it on line. How long would it take her? And she said, well, my wife would be terrified to be in prison. It'd be the worst place she's ever been in. She'd figure it out really quick on her own. And I said, so then why do we need putting instructors? And he said, we don't. And now Phil Kenyon is arguably the best putting instructor on the planet. I love Phil Kenyon. Amazingly knowledgeable, more knowledge than anybody I've ever met with putting. And he can do all this bullshit that he wants. Like if you want to be on plane and all this stuff, he can do it. But the thing that makes Phil a great instructor is that he knows how to read greens and he knows how to teach green reading. And I tell people, if you want to be a better putter, quit worrying about your putting stroke. Worry about learning how to roll the ball end over end and reading greens.
Yes, absolutely.
So true. And we were talking about this, and it was info I'd taken from Timmy, so it wasn't like my original thought, but we were basically talking about speed and line. The speed of your putt is based on the line. So, the line, reading the greens clearly is incredibly important. And it blows me away sometimes when I hear these guys talk about practice leaving the ball short. Still to this day, I don't care what anybody says, and that just makes no sense to me. I don't know how. I don't know what that means. Worrying about your second putt, this, that, and the other, but that's a great answer. Okay, last but not least, before we let you go, I know you're not watching a ton of golf, but who is most likely, a player that you think is most likely to win a major this year, not named Scotty Scheffler?
That hasn't won a major, or just who's going to win
Just
a major?
a guy you think is going to win a major this year, not Scotty.
Rory McIlroy.
Okay.
I think he might back up Augusta. Exclamation point.
I love it. Well,
You thought I was good? Here you go.
yeah, and in 2 weeks, we're going to do one of our shows, Masters Week. We're going to talk a lot because obviously Timmy has a ton of great master stories we didn't get even get into. The Jack Nicklaus one is an all-time favorite that I tell. I don't say it would happen to me. I say it happened to my buddy Tim, but it's a great story, and we'll get into that. Well, I tell you what, Timmy, can't thank you enough. Proud of you. Proud of to have you a part of this God Bless Golf family, and look forward to many more conversations. And again, everybody out there, thank you for listening, watching, like, subscribe, all the things you're supposed to do on the podcast. Really fun episode this week. And, each week's going to be different. We never know what we're going to do. But obviously having someone like Tim just leaves us a lot of questions that I think a lot of golfers think about when they're out there playing. So hopefully you like this one, and we got more to come. Timmy, we appreciate you coming on. Spice, I'll let you lead us out of this show. Great to see you as well again, and God bless golf.
God bless golf, everybody. Timmy, good to see you, and we look forward to having you on and expanding our knowledge of debauchery and golf to each and every one of you fellow listeners out there. Do all the things you should do, like, subscribe, check our website out for all our Toddler Zone stickers, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks again, Timmy.
Hey, one more thing before we close. I need full disclosure. I totally picked the Florida Gators to repeat. They are already out of the tournament. So nobody that's taking my advice. I don't know who's going to win it now. I'm going to go with Duke. And shout out to Richie Spice calling out that guy from Arkansas I'd never heard of who basically won 2 games by himself. Boys, God bless golf. Have a great night.
Thanks, boys.